In 1 John 5:11, we are reminded of the profound truth that our source of life is found in God through his Son, Jesus Christ. This realization has been a journey for me, requiring time and introspection. Recognizing my limitations and acknowledging my powerlessness over my struggles has been a crucial step in my spiritual growth, echoing Principle 1 of Celebrate Recovery. Principle 1 reads, "Realize I am not God. I admit that I am powerless to control my tendency to the wrong thing and that my life is unmanageable." It's a principle that I've had to internalize, and it's taken time for its significance to truly sink in. I used to believe that I could control every aspect of my life, but I've since surrendered that mindset to God, and for that, I am incredibly grateful. Our experiences of pain and hardship serve as testimonies to God's faithfulness and love. Through the darkest moments of my life, I've learned to trust in God's presence and provision. Even in the midst of suffering, I can find gratitude, knowing that each trial has ultimately led me closer to Him. Hello, Forever family and Storyline family. My name is Nicole. I am a grateful believer in Jesus, and I struggle with drugs and alcohol with a large side of anxiety. By the grace of God, I will celebrate 4 years of sobriety on June 3rd. Okay, y'all ready? I was born on December 11, 1979, to Thomas and Glenda Bella in good old Bakersfield, California. I have a sister named Desiree. She is 4 years older than me. I love my family and especially love the relationship we have now. I have been told that I came out ornery and ready to live life to its fullest. Desi, you can thank me later for that. I was the kid who always asked why and never really shut up. I often sang to every commercial there was. I remember that childhood energy. I was confident, I was smart. I got moved from preschool to kindergarten fast. I did a half a year of kindergarten and a half a year of first grade. It must have been all those questions I had. Although I think I'm happy to have been in the grade I was, I do believe it stunted me in some areas. I was always the youngest in my class. The older I got, it seemed my self-confidence slowly left me. I felt I had to do better than the others because I was the youngest. While I cherished the opportunity to advance academically, I couldn't shake the feeling that being the youngest in my class added pressure on me to prove myself, which carried on into adulthood. I went to the same Christian school from preschool until I graduated high school. I wouldn't change that experience at all. I graduated with, I think, 16 people in my class and still have relationships with many. I had a pretty darn good childhood. I was taken care of. I was loved. My parents and upbringing were pretty steady. Something did happen when I was in the second grade. My teacher kept me after class saying I needed extra help with math. I stayed after at his request. During this time, he would go at my shirt and make comments that were inappropriate. I was in second grade. I knew it was wrong, but didn't know how to communicate that to anybody else. It wasn't until I was in fourth grade when someone else came forward about this same teacher. He was fired. Since then, I am not a big fan of touch or math. Growing up, I found comfort in the familiar rituals and teachings of faith. Let's talk about that. My understanding of God's love was clouded by distorted thinking early on. I believed that my worthiness was contingent upon my behavior, fearing punishment for any misstep. It took years of introspection and growth and recovery before I came to a realization. God's love is unconditional. Regardless of my actions, I am deeply cherished and accepted by Him. This revelation has brought me immense peace and freedom, reshaping my perspective on faith and identity. I so appreciate that I now know my identity is in Him and not in my struggle. Reflecting on my journey, I am grateful for the lessons learned and the transformation that has taken place within me. Growing up, sports played a significant role in my life, bringing me happiness and a sense of accomplishment. I started college at a university in Riverside, California when I was 17, back in 1997. I was a baby and didn't know what the heck I was getting myself into. I shared a dorm room with my best friend, April. She already had 1 year of college under her belt, so I looked to her for a lot of guidance. I approached college with diligence and determination. However, the allure of newfound independence and freedom soon led me down a path of excess and indulgence. College became a big party. At the start of college, I had a boyfriend. His name was Edgar. I started dating Edgar the summer before my freshman year at college. Let me rewind a bit. Are y'all ready? I first met Edgar when I was in 6th grade and he was in 7th grade. We attended the same school until we both graduated high school. I had an instant crush on him when he first came to the school, but I looked like a boy. Thanks, Mom, for that bowl haircut. And he was 2 years older, but just a year ahead of me in school. Fast forward, Edgar and I became really good friends in high school. Then we realized there was something more there. Fast forward again to college. I had a boyfriend. He said he loved me, and that scared me. I broke up with him. Sorry, Edgar. I mentioned earlier that it was a big party. It was. I hung out with people who drank. I was scared and timid at first. I promised myself I wouldn't become an alcoholic, as I have alcoholism on both sides of my family, and it runs deep. I started small while partying, and then things progressed. I thought it was just part of the college experience. Edgar and I had a break in our relationship, but eventually got back together. Edgar and I got married May 25, 2003. If you take a closer look at Edgar's pants. They're ridiculous. Anyways, I was 23 years old and he was 25. Some of you may know Edgar. He is my husband of almost 21 years. Being married to Edgar has been my greatest and hardest thing in life. Edgar is my best friend. We have always had such an incredible bond. We are such dorks together. I am sure many of you have experienced that with us. If you haven't had the pleasure, I highly recommend you joining in on the fun, or should I say craziness. When we first got married, we lived with some dear friends of ours, and our drinking amped up. It was no longer the occasional drinking at parties. We finally got our own place as we both had pretty good jobs and were able to pay rent. The drinking continued. The partying increased. One night, Edgar and I attended a work party for me. Of course, that involved drinking. Edgar didn't really want to go, but he went anyway. The drinks runneth over that night. They always did. We drove home. In the blink of an eye, our world was shattered by a devastating car accident, the severity of which I never could have imagined. I can honestly say I never thought anything like this would happen. Not sure why I thought that way. I guess I thought I was indestructible or something. Edgar was driving. We collided with another car. We were less than a mile from our home. Edgar was taken into custody for driving under the influence. I was escorted home by my distraught parents. The shock and disbelief of the situation left me reeling, overwhelmed by a sense of guilt and remorse, along with panic, not knowing what would happen to my husband as they took him away in the patrol car. I couldn't afford to bail Edgar out. My parents wouldn't bail him out. His parents wouldn't bail him out. Our parents thought it would be best for Edgar to remain in jail. I didn't understand that at the time, but I do now. Our parents had been praying a long time for us. We both were not in a good place leading up to the accident. It was just a matter of time before something were to happen. A friend of ours bailed Edgar out. Edgar came home. We both were pretty tore up from the accident. At this time, we didn't know the status of the occupant of the other vehicle. We knew the individual involved was taken away in an ambulance. Edgar and I were exhausted and went to bed. We woke up to a knock at the door. It was so early. We didn't know what was going on, but answered the door. Both sets of parents stood before us. We knew that it wasn't going to be a good visit at 7 a.m. They handed us the local newspaper. There was a picture of Edgar. It read that he was involved in a DUI fatal car accident. It was difficult to read that a life was taken due to our accident. It was on the news as well. It was a time of anguish and confusion as we struggled to come to terms with the reality of the accident and devastating consequences. We felt paralyzed with fear and uncertainty about the future. We didn't know what to do. In the aftermath, Edgar lost his job. I kept mine, but was a mess. We hired a lawyer. Edgar was facing manslaughter charges. He did not go to prison. Not many people know that story. It's not something comfortable to talk about. Our hearts still ache for the life that was taken. You'd think Edgar and I would stop drinking after the accident. We did. We stopped for a whole 2 weeks. We both fell deeper into drinking and drugs. I worked an 8-to-5 job as a medical transcriber, and Edgar's job was a little more relaxed. In fact, he drank and smoked pot at work. Edgar and I weren't doing well, not in life, not in our marriage. We became distant. Edgar would go to work and then go party after and not come home until the wee hours of the morning. Mind you, we were still living with his parents. I would go to work and come home and drink in isolation. The distance grew and so did the resentments. I was supposed to drive that night of the accident, but I didn't. Edgar became abusive in many ways. He was controlling, he was mean. I felt like I just didn't matter. I felt worthless. I continued to drink and gain weight. I felt ugly and I just felt so alone. Time went on like this for a bit. I loved Edgar and continued to love him during this time. On top of him being abusive, something else was off. I knew my husband. We were best friends. My wife's heart felt like he wasn't being faithful to me. I found out a year after that he had cheated on me. I think I sensed for some time that this had happened, but didn't want to face it because then it would make it real. He opened up and said he was unfaithful one time. It was a one-night stand. I remember him coming home early that morning and crawling in bed next to me. I just couldn't believe he would or could do that to me, to us. Once it was confirmed I needed space and went to a hotel by myself. I continued to work while spiraling in my alcohol addiction. My family and friends asked me to leave him. I chose to stay with him for a few reasons. I knew Edgar and the potential that he had. I knew his heart and knew he loved me. Another reason was because I was not well. I didn't think I mattered. I thought I couldn't do life with him even though my whole being was destroyed. Despite the darkness that enveloped us, I couldn't bring myself to let go, convinced that he held the key to my happiness and well-being. We tried marriage counseling. I went drunk each time because, in my opinion, counseling was stupid. I was mad. I was hurt. I felt betrayed. The dysfunction continued. I was one broken woman and didn't know where to turn. In 2007, I hurt my back on the job. I was on workers' comp for quite some time. I needed surgery, but that never happened. What happened is that I became addicted to pain pills. This came at the perfect time, I thought. Another thing to take the pain away. It worked for a while, then it just ended up compounding things even more. I was in deep. I was a functioning alcoholic and pill addict, so I thought. This continued for years. I used to drink when I got off work. I just used to drink when I got off work. But that turned into drinking at lunch, and that turned into drinking before work, during lunch, and of course after work. The pills eventually stopped coming from the pain management doctor because I chose to cash out of my workers' comp. I wanted the money. This meant I had to start buying pills from the street. And that still shocks me to this day. I spent the $25,000 I got from cashing out without Edgar knowing. Sneaky mutt. Shh. I felt stuck and like I had nowhere to go. I held down my job for many years while drinking and using. One day everything just stopped and I couldn't take it anymore. Things just came crashing down. I informed my work and went to detox. They supported me because by law they have to the first time. They didn't support me as much the next time it happened. I lost my job. This was in 2012. Edgar decided to get sober. I was mad. I was mad for a couple of reasons. Number one, because he wanted to stop partying, and number two, because he could just stop. I couldn't just stop. I needed extra help and support. Edgar has now been sober for 12 years. Praise God. Edgar and I obviously stayed married, and that is only by the grace of God. Truly a miracle. I can write about what happened during that time, but a lot I don't remember. And I truly just want to focus on how amazing God is. He saved our marriage. That was hard work, though. So, Edgar was sober. He was still controlling and mean, though. Kind of like a dry drunk. And I was just, still a drunk. I was very lost and just didn't care about much in my life. My journey with substances continued, and so did my lying, stealing, manipulation, you name it. My dysfunction of hurting myself and others continued. In 2017, Edgar had the opportunity to attend a discipleship school called Arise here in Oregon. He went, and I visited him a few times, and there was something different about him. At first, I was like, don't hold your breath, Nicole. But the change continued. I felt loved by Edgar. I felt seen again by him. He had a twinkle in his eye again. He seemed passionate about Jesus and me again. He seemed to have peace, which then carried over to me. Edgar was then offered an internship at Lightbearers Ministry. This meant us moving to Oregon. What? No. We did it, and I'm so very grateful. To be honest, I hated Oregon when I first moved here. I lived in the same small town all my life, besides the little time I was away for college. We moved to Oregon January of 2018. That was a journey all in itself. I'm still on a mission of finding out who Nicole is, but I have come a long way. I relapsed left and right when we moved to Oregon. Although not as frequent, it was still happening. I got myself in a pickle and was facing some prison time when I stole pills from a friend here in Oregon. She was a special person who was actually walking alongside of me and giving me guidance. I took advantage of her. We still talk to this day, and she is proud of who I am today. I am glad that that part is over, and I'm glad that I can talk and share about that without feeling the shame and the guilt. You see, I have a family, a forever family. I have support and true acceptance in my life. It took me a long while to see that. Celebrate Recovery is a Christ-centered program that uses Bible-based steps and principles to find freedom and healing. Step 3 is my favorite and reads like this. We made a decision to turn our lives and our wills over to the care of God. Therefore, I urge you, brothers, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as living sacrifices, holy and pleasing to God. This is your spiritual act of worship. Romans 12:1. Once I fully surrendered and gave my life to God, things became more clear. Once I realized that I was forgiven, I was given a new lease on life. Let your roots grow down into Him, and let your lives be built on Him. Then your faith will grow strong in the truth you were taught, and you will overflow with thankfulness. Colossians 2:7. Writing a testimony is a lot of things. I put writing this off for quite some time. I wanted everything to flow and to be perfect from the start. This is my third time sharing my testimony, so thank you for having me. Nothing is perfect except God's love, and once I was able to see that, I finally felt capable. 2 years ago, my word was capable. Last year, it was conquer. This year, it is perseverance. I'm sure there are many pieces missing in my testimony. I really tried to share things that I could remember or what stood out in my life. I feel empowered since writing my testimony. What a powerful way to take ownership of my recovery journey. Getting to tell my story and sharing with others that I am not defined by my past. Thank God. God is really, really good at making the old into new, the wasted into purpose, and the dead alive. He can recycle the pain and garbage in your life into an incredible story that could help someone else's life. God not only wants to save you, forgive you, heal you, restore you, change you, and guide you, He wants to use you to bless others. I am a new creation. Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, the new creation has come. The old has gone, the new is here. 2 Corinthians 5:17. Okay, let's talk about Celebrate Recovery in that process. I met Jonathan back in 2017. Many of you know that guy, right? Well, Jonathan is the ministry leader at Springfield Church, my CR home group. He was in the same discipleship class with Edgar. After we moved to Oregon, Jonathan asked me to be a part of the CR team. I was fearful and would literally run every time I saw him at church. CR, life, relationships, recovery, this has all been a process for me. Let's talk about that darn process. Edgar had some fun with these slides. Oh, man. Once I embraced the process, even more fell into place. Jonathan was persistent and determined in encouraging me to join Celebrate Recovery, and now I thank him for that. I slowly became more and more interested in CR. I had one toe in, then I had a foot in, and now I'm all in. God is so good. I talk about it all the time. It seems recovery and Jesus are what my days consist of. True community and connection. Something I didn't have in the midst of my addiction. So Edgar and I are still married. Yes. Our marriage has experienced healing and restoration, always room for more growth. We will celebrate 21 years of marriage in May. Yeah, we renewed our vows last year, and it was amazing. I'm so very grateful for this entire process and what God has done in my life and in Edgar's life. All glory to God. I don't feel broken anymore. I am in full-time ministry. I enjoy serving my community and being in fellowship with my Forever family and Storyline family. In March of last year, I completed my 3rd step study. A step study is a group of women meeting every week for a year, digging deep in the Celebrate Recovery workbooks. Being able to lead such a wonderful group of women brought such joy into my life. I am a sponsor to several women and also enjoy this. Being a sponsor has been very valuable in my own recovery journey. By staying connected to the principles of recovery and being accountable to someone else, I have been able to strengthen my own commitment to sobriety and personal growth. Speaking of sponsors, I have a wonderful sponsor, and she has been by my side and cheering me on this entire time, and I am forever grateful. I serve on the worship team at my CR home group and at my church, Storyline Church. I have people that I can count on, and I have people who can count on me. Let's talk about that. Uh-oh. In April of 2020, a sweet baby girl named Elizabeth was born. I instantly fell in love with this amazing child. I love her mama too, and they both are such a huge part of my story. I cry as I write this. I knew I needed to be sober if I was going to be a part of Elizabeth's life. I wanted to be sober, so that is what I did. Again, June 3rd will mark 4 years of sobriety for me. Elsabeth will be 4 in April. Her and I have quite the bond. She calls me Nene, and my heart jumps for joy every time I hear her call for me. In May of last year, Amelie was born, Elsabeth's sister. These girls have my heart. I hope to be in their lives for a long time. I can't wait to hear Amelie say Nene for the first time. I'd like to say thank you to Vanessa and Emil for trusting me with your precious cargo. I love you both, and I can't quite put into words how much your children bless me. I think you get it, though, because you're their parents. Okay, switching gears a bit. I have joined Jonathan as co-ministry leader. I never saw that coming. God had a plan and for sure a sense of humor. I used to run from Jonathan, and now we are running a ministry together with the help of our forever family and God. No matter where I am at in my recovery, I owe thanks. Being grateful keeps me grounded, so here we go. Thank you to God for never giving up on me. Thank you to my family and friends who kept rooting for me and praying for me. Thank you to Storyline Church and Pastor Ty. Thank you to my husband who continues to still choose me. Thank you to Jonathan for being my friend and mentor and for continuing to challenge me. Thank you to my sponsor and sponsees for holding me accountable and showing me what commitment looks like. I also want to say thank you to myself for not giving up. It takes a lot of courage, and I wouldn't be able to say that with the help of God and CR. I'm truly thankful to the program that changed my life. A couple of things I would like to share. Although I had some hard times in my life, God was always there, and I knew it. I always knew someone was there, even though I didn't talk about it or share that. I knew someone had my back, and that was God. To me, that is amazing. In my most alone times, God was present, and He always will be. To me, freedom is peace, and I have that in my life now. My favorite Bible verse is Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways, submit to Him, and He will make your paths straight. I'm so glad that I stopped trying to do things my way. Once I fully started to trust in the Lord with all of my heart, things became more clear. Things became okay. I wanted to start living again. I still have my struggles, but instead of going at this alone, I have God and my support system, and that feels good. I love celebrating victories with people, and I can finally say that I have experienced victory in Jesus. Today I stand before you as a testament to God's unfailing love and the power of redemption. Through His grace, I have found healing and restoration, reclaiming my life from the clutches of addiction and despair. The journey has been lengthy, yet I am overflowing with gratitude for the second, third, and fourth chances that God has graciously granted me. To anyone struggling with addiction or despair, you are not alone. His grace is sufficient to overcome even the darkest of nights. There is always hope in Christ. If you have never been to Celebrate Recovery, or even if you have, I encourage you to join us on Monday nights at Springfield Adventist Church. We have dinner at 6 p.m. and large group at 7. I know you have a story, and there are many of us who want to hear that story. You matter, and people here, including myself, want to share the love of Jesus with you. I think life is just beginning for me, and I am excited. Thank you for letting me share. I hope my story, my journey, lends hope and encouragement to someone this morning. And one more thing, Jesus loves you.